Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulih al-Amin amma ba'd. So, welcome to the University 101 workshop, inshallah. Inshallah, today, we already talked about a little bit of Quran and about seeking knowledge. Jazakumullah khairan zaid for that. So, inshallah, today's agenda is as follows. So, the first is going to be the application process. The second one is going to be on loan and financial aid. Third one is going to be about program selection. And it's going to be question answer session, inshallah, if you guys have questions. And then the fifth one, if you guys want to work on your applications in class, you can so, and we can provide some support there as well. Okay, first of all, you mentioned that you want to get into UFC, right? Do you know which UFC as well? It's perfect, inshallah. So that'll make things a little bit easier. But regardless, just for the folks watching online and for, inshallah, if in the future you think about going to other universities, the admission process depends on which province you are in, right? So if you're in Alberta, there's a specific admission process. If you're in Ontario, there's a specific admission process. If you're in Saskatchewan, BC, there's a different admission process for it as well. So on this PowerPoint slides, and don't worry about it, I will send this PowerPoint slides to all of you guys, inshallah, so have access to it. And this PowerPoint has some great resources as well. You said that you came to Canada about 2 years ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago? Oh, 2 weeks ago. So specifically, you came to apply to UFC?
Yeah.
Yeah? Did you graduate from high school in your...
Palestine, yeah.
In Palestine? Inshallah. And you're graduating from? From grade 12? Okay, perfect, inshallah. All right. No one's applying to Ontario, yeah? Anyone trying to apply to med school, anything like that in the future, inshallah? We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So keep this in mind for yourself, because if you're going to be applying to medical school, right, you'll probably be using something like this, inshallah, in the future. Okay, and then I have some resources again for British Columbia. There's, again, every province you apply to, they will have a different application portal for it, right? So here I have some, and you guys can see on the screen, some of the different universities. For example, UBC is a big popular one here. If you're applying to it, you have to apply through this portal. And then for Saskatchewan and Manitoba, sometimes the universities, you have to apply directly. So some universities have like a specific portal which you have to apply to, and some universities you have to apply to it directly. So it depends on which universities you're trying to get into. For both of you guys trying to get into UFC, inshallah, the process is going to be easier. And in fact, the example we have is specifically for UFC, so it's perfect for you guys, inshallah. And this is some, again, admission process for Quebec. Anyone applying to Quebec can speak French? No? Inshallah khair. And then if you're applying to any of the Atlantic provinces, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, any of the smaller places, again, you do apply directly for that as well. And don't worry about the information if you can't quite catch it. I'll send this PowerPoints to you later, inshallah. I'll let you know what you have to write. Now here specifically for schools in Alberta / Calgary. So this is for you guys, inshallah. University of Calgary, the deadline is March 1st, and it opens October 1st. So the application portal for UFC is actually already opened. So it's been a couple of days now. If you're applying to Montreal University, also another university in Calgary, the application portal opens again October 1st as well, and then closes February 1st and then August 29th as well. And we'll talk a little bit about early admissions versus late admissions. Which ones should you be applying to? And of course, University of Alberta, SAIT, University of Lethbridge, some more information there. If it applies to you, inshallah it does. I don't think it applies to anyone here. Specifically for you guys, University of Calgary opens October 1st, closes March 1st. And I have a little bit of a pro tip here. Apply early. Zaid, how important would you say applying early is?
Yeah, I think applying early is very important because then you will get admission offer earlier, and then you can kind of relax that I don't need to apply anymore.
Yeah, it'll be like peace of mind, right? Because you apply earlier, get in earlier, peace of mind. So we'll talk about application dates a little bit as well after. So, difference between early admission and regular admission. This is an important one. So for those of you who are taking notes, keep a mind of this. So for early admission, usually runs between October and December. So all of you guys, if you apply for UFC, you'll be counting as early admission. Now the difference between early and regular admission is this. For early admissions, right, since you came from Palestine and you were here, right, and you graduated grade 12 already, right? Yeah. It would still be considered early admissions for you as well, but the process for somebody graduating from high school is different, like who is currently in high school in grade 12 versus who's graduated, it's a little bit different. So for applying for those early admissions and you graduated high school, you would go through the portal, you would apply, and you would put in all the grades from your grade 11 and grade 12 year. Okay, so if you have your transcripts from school back home, you would use that same grades and you put it into the portal. And we'll talk about where to put that inshallah as well. For those who are in grade 12 currently, you would put your grade 11 final marks and your grade 12 in progress courses. And I'll show you what that looks like inshallah. And this slide here is going to ask you guys, which one do you think is more important? Early admissions or regular admissions? Which one should you apply? Regardless of what situation you're in, whether or not you have good grades or not, right? Always, always, always apply early, right? And the best description of that is, imagine the recruiter has a stack of papers. When you apply early, you put your paper into that stack of papers. So now the admission reviewer, they go through the stack, right, for early admissions. And then if there's people who qualify for the program, they put them into a pile that says admitted. But now the question a lot of people have is, if I apply early, and let's say I don't have the grades in grade 11, right, to get into the program, does that mean my application is rejected? That's not the case. If you don't get into early admissions, what the application reviewer, what they do is they just move your application to the bottom so that you become the first person to be reviewed on general application. Okay? So again, when you apply early, you are considered for both early and general application. So always apply early. And in fact, it's better to apply early even if you don't have the grades, because when they go to the late admissions, to regular admissions, your application comes on top. So it becomes a lot easier to be admitted, inshallah. So this is an important one for both of you guys. The website to apply is Apply Alberta. Apply Alberta, that's the website. So if you wanna, do you have your phone, right?
Yeah.
So open this website here, Apply Alberta. This is the portal for where you would apply to universities in Alberta.
I think I did this for like, I came here with a study permit for Lethbridge, but I were late to Lethbridge.
Okay,
Yeah, so I transferred my papers to UFC.
to UFC.
Yeah,
So have you applied already?
to Lethbridge, yeah. I
To
got
Lethbridge.
study permit with Lethbridge, yeah.
But you haven't applied to UFC yet.
Yeah.
So you would still, I think, go through the same process in this case. So keep this in mind. So, because there's an option that says like what's your highest level of achievement and all of that. We'll talk a little bit about it, inshallah. So going to Apply Alberta. Now this is the question that they will ask. Select the school where you achieved the highest level, right? So here I have an example for my own self, service in Churchill, and then highest level achieved. You'll be putting grade 12 for this one. So for both of you guys. Now the next part that trips a lot of people up for applications is this, right? Is what do you put for your courses, for your grades? For those who have already graduated, it's pretty simple. Just whatever grades you have, you put it into it. And you've probably already done it if you've applied to Lethbridge. But for those who are still looking to apply, this is kind of what it should look like for you. So you would look through your courses and you would only put in your 20 level and 30 level courses. You don't have to put in your 10 level courses. Unless in grade 10 you've taken a grade 11 level course. Then you would put it. But you would just put in your 20 and 30 level courses. Now, if you're taking a 30 level course, right, for example, like biology 30, and you're planning to take a lesson next semester, the question is, what grade do you put in, right? So there's two different things you could do. One, if you're happy with your grade that you got in grade 11, you can put the exact same grade for your grade 12 grade. Assalamu alaikum, bro. What's your name again? Him, behind you. Yeah.
Ismail.
Ismail? Gotcha, inshallah. So you missed a little bit of the workshop, but inshallah after it, we'll go a little bit through it. So right now, we were talking about the early admission versus regular admission process and which website you should be applying through. So keep this website in mind. So Ismail, Apply Alberta. You're in high school?
Grade 12.
Grade 12? Gotcha. Do you know where you want to apply to?
I've applied already, yeah.
Yeah? Where?
I applied to UFC.
UFC? Just UFC?
Well, I've also applied to U of A.
Oh, UFA as well. Okay, good. So you're
Maybe
expert.
later on, I might apply to more universities, but right now that's all I have.
Right, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. We talked a little bit about different universities across Canada. So again, I'll send this PowerPoint to all of you guys, so that way you have access to it and you can always have a refresher on it. We're recording the lecture as well, so that again, and we'll share a link to it. So if you want to reference it in the future, you can, inshallah. So you've probably already done this, Ismail, right? Put your courses and everything. But this is what you do. You put all your courses, and the question I was answering here was, let's say you're taking a course in next semester. What grade should you be putting in to the system right now? Right? For example, Bio 30, you haven't taken it, you have to take it in winter semester, right? But you don't know what the grade is. So what you can do is, one, you can put the same grade that you have in grade 11 as a mark, or if you're feeling ambitious and if you think you can really push yourself, you can put like a point or two above your grade 11 grade, right? So if you think you're going to take it, like for example, if you look here, English Language Arts 20, 82, but for English Language Art 30, I put 84, right? So you can go a couple points above it, that's okay. The thing with grades, once you have put your grades in, just make sure that you don't drop 5 points below the grade you put in. That's the key number, 5 points. So let's say, for example, you put in 84, 79 is the lowest you can keep. So you have to make sure your average stays above 5 points. And we'll talk a little bit about what it looks like to get early admission and kind of what you do after that and what grade you have to maintain for that, inshallah. Any questions on that? No questions, inshallah? Right. So these are some of the universities you can apply to for Alberta University. So a list is out for you, fairly straightforward. If you're applying to U of C, this is what it looks like. So once you go through the entire portal and you're applying to U of C, and you're kind of putting all the information. Now, bear in mind, the first time you put your application in for U of C, right, and you get your ID, it takes about 12 hours for the portal to register you as an actual registering student. So sometimes you cannot actually pick your courses up until 12 hours after you register. So it takes a little bit of time there. So don't panic if you get an error message when you're trying to pick a course, inshallah. So you get the option for your first choice. And again, if you've already applied, you probably chose your first choice and second choice already. But you get an option for first choice. Just real quickly, just understand that some courses, especially on the UFC portal, some programs you cannot take in first year. Like you cannot pick it. Like for example, the one I'm showing here, software engineering. If you want to speak a little bit on that.
If you're applying to engineering, you apply to general engineering, and the first year will basically be common. You will have the same first year whether whatever field of engineering you're going into. And then after you, and then in the first year, basically they give you courses from different fields. And based on what you find interesting, at the end of first year, they will ask you which specific major of engineering you want to be placed in. So you cannot apply to software engineering or mechanical engineering first year. You have to apply to engineering. Then after you finish first year, you choose which major you want.
So you'll find that a lot of courses are like that, where you cannot pick it as first choice, sometimes you cannot pick it as a second choice. The most important thing is when you're picking your first choice, make sure it is the program that you want. Some people, for example, what they do, and I do not recommend this, this is a very important point for all of you guys. Some people, what they do is they try to pick their first choice and they have a second choice that the university deems that can only be a first choice. For example, somebody wants to pick, let's say, biomedical sciences, and they want to pick health sciences. You cannot put these two as first choice. So what people do, right, they put, let's say, for example, biomedical science first, and they put the second one as something else, right? They put it as like engineering or something, right? Thinking that because I cannot put, for example, engineering as first choice and the second choice, that I will get admission offers for both. Okay, I know it sounds a little bit confusing. If you haven't been in a situation, don't worry about it. But Point is, when you're picking your first choice, make sure it is actually the first choice that you want, right? And then come on.
Is there perfect classes today?
I don't think today, no.
Not today. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
No worries, inshallah. So, make sure when you're picking your first choice that you're picking the program that you actually want. The second choice is only there if in case you don't get in, right? So pick a major that is at least 5 points below the comparative average for your primary. This is an important point. Now, if you get admission into your first choice, no worries. But if you get admission to your second choice, what happens is that they still consider you for your first choice, so you have an option for both if you end up getting second choice first. So now how do you know what the admission requirements are? You can go onto their website and you can find all the information there, right? For example, what's the comparative average, right? What is the required courses? For UFC, you require 5 courses. So these are the required courses, for example, and then 1 approved course or option at level 30. Now, we could have gone through this as well, but I don't think anyone's applying to MRU. No? But MRU has its own admission booklet, as do many other universities, so I would highly recommend looking at it. Normally we would do like a little bit of practice, but it's okay, inshallah, we'll skip that for today. The next part is loans, scholarships, and financial aid. Has anyone applied before for loans, scholarships, financial aid? Okay, so inshallah, this will be very important for you guys. One, this website, I'm gonna click it because it's such an important website. studentaid.alberta.ca, right? All of you guys should be noting this down. This is where you apply for your loans, and some of the scholarships that's available to you through high school is you get it through here. For example, who knows about the Rutherford Scholarship? You guys know? You get that once you actually make an application onto Student Aid. So if you don't have an application on Student Aid, you will not get that scholarship. So make sure to make an application for Student Aid. Next, scholarships and bursaries. Difference between different types of financial aid. So scholarships and bursaries is free money, right? Who doesn't like free money? Anybody doesn't want free money? Right? No one will say no. But what scholarships and bursaries are is basically free money. But it's usually given based on financial need, right? Or some sort of academics or leadership or volunteering activities. So it's up to you to find out if you qualify for them. Sometimes they're highly competitive, but do you guys know how much money in scholarships go unclaimed every year? Anyone have a rough idea? Ismail, right? Yeah? Any ideas? A guess? Give me a guess.
Million, maybe?
It's about $1 million, yeah. About $1.3 million in scholarships go unclaimed, meaning that had you applied, you would have gotten that money, right? Or had you applied, you would have gotten that money. Right? It's unclaimed. Nobody has even applied for it. And why that is because most people, they look at requirements and they think that, oh, there must have been a dozen other people who applied, therefore there's no way I can get it. And guess what? All the other dozen people thought the exact same thing, so nobody ends up applying for it. My recommendation, you're in grade 12 right now, right? You can start applying for scholarships as early as grade 11. So there are scholarships available for you guys right now that if you were to apply, you'll get it at the time when you get to university, inshallah. So a couple different types that you should be looking out for. One, from the university portals themselves. So when you made your application for UFC, log into the portal and you'll have an opportunity to fill out an application form for awards. Okay, so this is the case for both UFC and MRU. In order to qualify for entrance awards, you have to fill it out. And entrance awards go up to like $20,000 for the year. There's a lot of awards available, but you have to make sure to apply. So for those of you who applied for UFC, log into your portal, put an application down. Some scholarships, for example, diversity scholarship, there's Lawrence scholarship, all the other scholarships, you can do that through this website here, Universities Canada Scholarship Partners Program. So if you search this up online, you will find the portal to which you can apply to some of these bigger scholarships, the ones that are worth like $50,000, $60,000 scholarships, and make sure to apply for these, right? Even if you think you're not going to get it, apply for them because, again, millions of dollars of scholarships go unclaimed, right? And you never know where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written a risk for you. So always make sure to apply. Grants, this is money from the government and you don't have to pay this back. Again, it's different than loans. And we'll talk about where you can apply for grants as well. Now this is an important page here. And again, I'll send this PowerPoint, you don't have to take notes on this. But this is the eligibility criteria for getting grants. So if your family income is below the cutoff, then you're eligible for some of the certain grants. And you can get up to $4,000 in grants from the government, so free money, right? You don't have to pay it back. Again, grants, you don't have to pay it back. Up to $4,000, right? So it's a lot of money that you can get towards your education. Now, if you're looking at getting loans, there's two types of loans. There's Canada Student Loan and there's Alberta Student Loan. For Canada Student Loan, the main things for us as Muslims specifically, when you're applying for it, one, Canada Student Loans has a 6-month grace period after you have graduated, which you don't have to make any payments, and there's no interest. Again, there's no interest anymore for Canada Student Loans. So my recommendation is try to get as much of your money from Canada Student Loans if you're applying for loans. Canada Student Loans, again, there's no more interest on it. So you can pay for it for 20, 30 years, there's no interest. There's no contract for interest, something like that. Alberta Student Loans, now this is a little bit tricky. Alberta Student Loans, now when you apply for loans, you have an option to get both, right? And most of the time you get both loans. For Alberta Student Loans, there's a 12-month period after you graduate where there is no interest and you don't have to make any payments. But after the 12-month period, you will start accumulating interest. My recommendation, if you're gonna keep track of your loans, keep track of your Alberta Student Loan and try to make sure that you have the ability to pay it off within 12 months. So save up for it so you can pay it off within 12 months, inshallah. And loans is something you have to apply every single year. If you don't apply the year, then you won't get the loans for that year and you will go into repayment. So make sure every single year you're applying for your loans, inshallah. Are you here for the workshop? Okay, come inshallah. We have to do a round 2 for the workshop. Subhanallah. Any questions on loans, financial aid, scholarships?
It's not for the international, right?
There's international students as well.
But not most of it.
It's different for international students,
Yeah.
for sure. But there are scholarships, awards, financial aid available for international students as well. So, but it will come through some of the different portals and then for Alberta residents, for example. So, inshallah, after we'll work together a little bit on where we can find some of these resources. But there is, again, the $1.3 million of unclaimed scholarships and awards. It's not just for Alberta students, it's for all students across everywhere, so including you as international students. So a lot of international students, they actually come in with the idea that they're not going to get any financial help. That's not the case. There's lots of opportunities available. It's just the matter of finding them becomes the hardest part. Okay, so this is kind of towards the end of the workshop. So program selection and career planning, right? So Zaid, I don't know if you remember trying to get into university, but what was it like trying to decide on your entire future career as just a measly, barely adult person?
Not fun.
It's definitely not fun, right? Like, pretty much you're being put into this position before you guys can even drive, before you guys can even, like, you know, you're not even adults yet, not even 18, and you're already put into a situation where you have to now decide your entire future, right? Because for the most part, when you go into university, you graduate with a degree, it determines what career path you're taking in your entire life, right? It's a lot of responsibility, and it's a huge decision for your life as well, right? Sometimes people move provinces, sometimes people, like, you know, live on their own to go to universities. There's lots of different factors, right? So how do you choose? Now, one thing is that, you know, I didn't really explain like who I am, and I didn't explain who Zaid is. So Zaid is a graduate from UFC, from the engineering school. I'm a graduated from MRU, graduated in nursing, and alhamdulillah, I'm also the chaplain at UFC and MRU. So I work with a lot of students when it comes to applications, job career advice, and even just personal advice as well. And one of the biggest things I find when I'm working with students who are coming in for career advice, especially as Muslim students, is that they've picked a career, they've done a year or two of it, and now they're like, oh shoot, I don't really like it, right? I want to change careers. Or sometimes it's like there's some aspect of it that's like, oh, it's like weighing a lot on my mind, weighing a lot on my heart, or it's not very Islamic or whatever the case is. So there's lots of different reasons why people in their first or second year, they want to change careers, right? But the thing is, if you do proper career planning early, right, in choosing which program, it can save you a lot of headache down the road, right? I have some friends who did 3 years of a program, and in the 4th year, when they started working, they're like, oh, it's not for me. And they have to restart the entire process from square one, right? So some of them are still in school for 5, 6, 7 years, right? So you want to try to avoid it. Why? Because the longer you're in school, the more debt you accumulate as well. And the longer you're in school, it takes away from other opportunities, right? From work experience, from other things that you could be doing instead. So how do you choose a program of study? 4 main categories, right? And if you really worked on these 4 main categories, answer this question, I can promise you, you will have an easier time picking what program you should be doing. The first one is interests. What are you curious about? What subjects are you interested in? Like for example, if you like biology and you're not good at math, I can guarantee that you won't be doing good in engineering, right? I can almost guarantee that. Same thing with computer science. Or if you're somebody who likes math, likes physics, right, but hates biology, if somebody put you into the bio program, you're gonna absolutely hate it, right? So what subjects are you interested in? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your priorities, right? Do you wanna stay close to home? Do you worry about cost of living? Are you worried about the work-life balance? Something else to consider as well is the job market. Does the job/program exist in the city of choice, right? There are some programs and some job opportunities that do not exist in the city of Calgary. Again, there are some jobs that do not exist in the city of Calgary. For example, making prosthetics. There is a course in UFC that is bioengineering? Biomedical engineering. In Calgary, there are no jobs currently for biomedical engineers. So a lot of people, what they do is they go elsewhere outside for it. So one of the most important factors when deciding a career, see if that career has job opportunities available in your city of choice, if it happens to be Calgary. Or if you're okay with having to move out of it as well. How many jobs are available in their field? Right? For example, in the nursing field, there's tons of jobs available, right? So there's zero shortage of jobs, so anybody can find a job anytime. Job demand and salary potential, right? How much demand is that for that position? And what is the salary potential? People don't think about this, but there are some careers that are very stagnant, right? There is no upward growth. So maybe the salary is capped at 70,000, and you look online and you see somebody working in that field for 10 years, and all they've gotten out of their 10 years is an 80K salary, right? Only a $10,000 increase. That's not what we want when we're trying to pick a career. So look at the salary potential as well. Look at the top earners, and not only top earners, see what they have done to get the learning potential. Because sometimes they might have done a career, sure, but they've done 5 more years of masters, or then 5 more years of building their own business. So really look into what the salary potential for your career choice is. Lastly, realistic goals, right? Can I see myself working in 10 plus years in that field, right? Can you see yourself working for a long time? Think of your own parents, think of your own families, right? Can you see yourself working, like for example, some people, they choose their career based on what their parents have done, right? So can you see yourself working in the same shoes as your parents? Can you see yourself doing that as you've seen other people? And then also, when deciding your goals, have you connected with somebody who has your dream job? This is the most important question, I think, out of this slide. When you connect with somebody who has the exact same job that you are looking for to work in the future, it will give you a lot of insights on how you should be planning your educational career, right? Do you agree with that, inshallah? But one aspect of it, I think you'll like this one as well, that people often forget is Islam. I cannot tell you how many times I've had students come up to me in their second year, when they're starting second year, they look at their career program and they're like, oh shoot, there's all these different requirements that perhaps are not Islamic. How do I deal with them? How do I go through them, right? So a lot of people, they don't think about the Islamic aspect of choosing a career. So when you're choosing a career, think about these potential questions, and feel free to add on if you have any questions as well. You have some, inshallah?
I think from the perspective of Islam, it's not just that you should be looking at what is permissible and what is not permissible. As Fawaz said, often what happens is not even that people don't realize what career they chose, but sometimes people become more religious in university. And then they realize, you know what, the career I chose, it's not that, I have to break some rules or whatever. But that's one thing. Another thing is you really need to be thinking it from the perspective of how exactly are you benefiting the Muslim Ummah? What is your final goal? If the Muslim Ummah is a house, what role do you play in that house? What brick are you placing in that house? I'm not going to say don't, but it's better not to do something that you're just going to maybe make some money, but there's going to be no benefit to the world. Do something that is useful. Do something that we need. We all know what the situation of the Muslim Ummah is, right? Think about what the Muslims need. Think about what they need and how you can fill that. What role you can play in that. And then decide, okay, and also, obviously we have to keep in mind the rest of the things, interests, priorities, and your own benefit, but this is the broader outlook you should have when choosing a career. What is my final goal? Where am I going? And at the end of this, am I going to be happy with the life I've lived? Because career is going to be, 25, 50, maybe even more percentage of your life. This is most of your life. So are you going to be happy on your deathbed? That this is what you did all your life.
Sah, Jazakumullah khairan for that insight. But that is the case when you're choosing a career, right? That is why we're doing this workshop here, because it is so important to think about all these things early, right? You don't want to be caught off guard in your third year, in your fourth year, when you're graduating, when you're getting into your first job, and then now you're starting to think all these questions, right? But if you're early enough, if you think about these questions, you will make your life a lot simpler, a lot easier, and you will have certain goals you want to work towards as well. Somebody mentioned you want to get into med, right? There are specific things you have to be doing in your first year, in your second year, in your third year to be able to get into med school in Canada. And if you miss any of those goals, guess what? It delays how long it takes for you to get into a med school in Canada. So, just one more thing I do want to add just about the topic of Islam. I think this is something a lot of people, they don't realize, but it makes such a huge difference. Try to find a Muslim person in the career that you're trying to get into, right? Because guess what? Because they are Muslim, and especially if they've gone through the same lifestyle as you have, right? And you ask them about, okay, what courses they took, how did they apply, what scholarship did they get, you can pretty much follow their exact blueprint, right? They've gone through the struggles already, so now all it takes is for them to tell you what their struggles were, and for you to take notes on how you can make yourself better from that. Any questions on that?